Hey everyone, welcome back to Toxic Till the End, where we talk about love, relationships, and all the complicated emotions that come with them. Today's episode is a personal one, so grab a drink, get comfy, and let me take you through the story. I had this realization recently. I never actually healed from my past relationship. So I thought I had moved on, and I told myself it was over, that it was just a chapter in my life that I had closed. But the truth is, I never really dealt with that trauma that came with my first love. And you know what made me realize it? Is that going back through my story in the last episode, as I was talking about everything, it hit me. I was uncomfortable, like really uncomfortable. It felt like I was right back in those moments, feeling everything over again. And that's when it clicked. Suppressing trauma doesn't make it go away, it just sits there, buried under everything else, waiting for the right moment to resurface. But here's the thing, I don't think it is a bad thing that this is coming up for me now. Actually, I think it's a good thing because acknowledging it, that means I'm finally ready to face it, to process it, and to heal in a way that's real, not just pretend I'm fine. And if you are going through something like this, if old wounds are suddenly making their way back to the surface, just know you are not alone. Healing isn't about pretending something never happened. It's about working through it, feeling it, processing it. And I used to think that if I pushed the pain down far enough, it meant I had moved on. But really, it was just waiting for the right time to come back up. And when it does, don't run from it. Don't see it as a setback because it's not. It's a sign that you are finally ready to deal with it. So take your time, give yourself grace, talk to someone you trust, write it out, sit with your emotions, or even look into therapy if that's something you feel like you need. But just don't ignore it. And remember, healing isn't a straight line, okay? Some days you feel like you're making progress, but other days it might feel like you're stuck. And every moment of awareness, that is progress. And trust me, you'll get through it. Speaking of healing, let's move on from this topic and let's talk about another relationship I had to recover from. One that wasn't romantic, but just as emotionally draining. So, remember Layla from the past episodes? Well, our friendship was a roller coaster and not the fun kind. For me, it was hard to tell if she actually liked me or if she hated me because one moment she was nice, the next she could not stand me. And looking back, I realized that Layla was always using me. She never truly appreciated anything I did for her. In fact, she was openly vocal about taking my kindness for granted. And I did so much for her, like giving her rides to school, buying her gifts, helping her out with whatever she needed. And yet, it was never enough. And it wasn't just me who noticed it. Everybody around us noticed. One thing that really stood out to me was the time when our youth group had a retreat at our church house. Now, this wasn't just some random house, it was a place the church was planning to turn into an actual building. We had a lot of memories there because we gathered there all the time, whether it was youth nights, small group meetings, or just a place to chill and connect. It was like our second home. That retreat was supposed to be something special. We camped there in our tents. We sat around the bonfire. We played games, sang, and we had devotions. It was one of those moments where everything felt good. like the kind of night where you just laughed until your stomach hurts. And we sang our hearts out without a care in the world, and we felt connected to everyone around us. At that time, I was just soaking it all in, trying to make good memories. But looking back, I can see things so differently now. There were there were certain things that happened, like the little things that were weird energy shifts that I just didn't catch in the moment. And honestly, maybe I didn't want to catch them. It's crazy how, when you care about people, you overlook things. You convince yourself that it's nothing, that you're just overthinking, until one day you can't ignore it anymore. I see it so clearly now how Layla would switch up on me depending on who was around and how she was so calculating with her energy. And I just let it slide because I wasn't ready to admit that someone I considered a friend might not actually be one. But you know what? The truth always finds its way to come out. And when it did, I could not unsee it. The retreat was also the first time I met Kaysen. Kaysen was Dior's brother, and Dior was engaged to one of our youth members named Malcolm. I didn't think much of it at the time, it was just new people being introduced to the group. So after the retreat, I went to Iowa for a family reunion, and when I got back, my friends had some news for me. Apparently, while I was gone, Kaysen had made it pretty obvious to everyone that he had a crush on me. And I mean, I wasn't surprised because I had already picked up on the way he looked at me and how he was kind of hovering, just there a little more than necessary. But the thing is, I wasn't interested. After everything with Colin, I just wanted to focus on me. And I was not trying to be in a relationship since I was in my single and thriving era. A few months later, it was time for Malcolm and Dior's wedding. So Shelby, Annie, Layla, and I, we took a trip from Idaho to Washington for the wedding. And honestly, I was really looking forward to it. I mean, weddings are supposed to be fun, right? A chance to dress up, celebrate love, and just have a good time with friends. We ended up staying at Dior's cousin's house, which was already a little out of my comfort zone because I don't like staying at places where I don't really know people like that. But I was with my friends, so I figured it would be fine. And then I walked in, and who do I see? Kaysen. The moment I saw him, I just knew. He came knowing I was going to be there. But here's the thing, I did not care at all. I wasn't fazed, I wasn't flattered, I wasn't even slightly interested. I did not give him any attention, like no extra smiles, no lingering eye contact, nothing. I just kept it pushing, focused on what I was there for, which was to celebrate my friends, enjoy the wedding, and mind my business. And the funny thing is, I think that threw him off. Like, he probably expected me to act differently, maybe to acknowledge him in some way, but I was just over it. I had already decided I wasn't entertaining any of it, and that's exactly what I did. I kept my energy to myself, enjoyed the wedding, and let him exist in whatever expectations he had for the situation. Then came the moment that really made me side eye Layla. So during the trip, she was acting extra nice to me. And if y'all have been keeping up with the story, you know that was not normal for her. I mean, Layla was never the overly friendly type, at least not with me, right? One moment she was cool, the next she was acting like I annoyed her just by breathing. So when she suddenly started treating me like we were the best of friends, I knew something was up. At first, I couldn't figure out what it was. I was like, okay, what's going on here? Why is she being so nice like this? But I did not dwell on it too much. I just kept it in the back of my mind because with Layla, you always had to stay aware. And then Annie pulled me to the side. She was like, "You know, Layla's only being nice to you because she's trying to get close to Kaysen, right?" The moment she said that, everything made sense. Apparently, Layla had a crush on Kaysen, and I guess she thought that by cozying up to me, she'd somehow get closer to him. And honestly, when I found out, I just left because at that point, I was done. I didn't have the energy to be mad or hurt anymore. I had already accepted who Layla was. Someone who used people, someone who stirred up unnecessary drama, and someone who would flip on you the second she didn't need you anymore. And honestly, who lives their lives like that? Like, imagine being that exhausting. It's wild to me. But I guess that's just who she was, and I had stopped expecting anything different. So in 2005 was Layla's last year in Idaho before her family moved to Arizona. And before she left, the girls and I decided to do a little photo shoot just to make memories, something that was supposed to be special. And I remember thinking, okay, despite everything, at least we will have these photos to look back on. But after she left, that's when everything came out. The rest of my girlfriends, we started talking, and one by one, they were spilling all the truth out to me. And when I say truth, I mean stuff I already suspected, but hearing it out loud, it hit me different. I had my doubts about Layla for a while. There were little things, small moments where I questioned her intentions, where I wondered if she really even liked me. But I always brushed it off, and I would tell myself I was overthinking. Turns out, I wasn't. They told me that all the times I had been there for her, like helping her, looking out for her, going out of my way for her, she never appreciated any of it. She took everything I did for granted. And the worst part, she hated me. Not just annoyed by me, not just secretly irritated. She had been talking about me behind my back this whole entire time, and not in a small way. So hearing that, it was wild. But the craziest part, I wasn't even mad. I wasn't shocked. I was just done. I finally saw things for what they were, and I didn't reach out to her anymore. So if she ever messaged me, I would keep it short and only responded if she initiated the conversation. But even then, I felt nothing toward her. No anger, no sadness, just relief. Relief that she was finally gone. Relief that I didn't have to deal with her anymore. And relief that for the first time in years, she no longer existed in my space. And truthfully, that was just the best thing that could ever happened. Looking back, I realized that not all heartbreaks come from romance. Sometimes the biggest betrayals come from friendships, the ones you thought would last. But here's what I learned. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them. You don't have to stick around hoping they'll change. You don't have to keep pouring into people who only take from you. And you definitely don't have to keep anyone in your life who makes you question your worth. For me, I saw that Layla was never really my friend, at least not in the way I thought. She wasn't someone who genuinely cared about me. She only kept me around because I was useful to her. All those moments where she was hot and cold, where she took advantage of my kindness, where she talked behind my back, it all made sense. She was never rooting for me. She was just keeping me close enough to benefit from me. And realizing that, it hurts. Because I had given so much of my time, my energy, my kindness to someone who never truly valued it. But at the same time, it was freeing because once I saw things for what they really are, I could finally stop holding on to something that was never real to begin with. How I stopped holding on when I finally accepted the truth was when I finally stopped making excuses for her and started valuing myself more. It wasn't an overnight thing. At first, I questioned it, still wondering if maybe I was overreacting, but then I looked at all the patterns, the way she treated me over and over again, and I had to ask myself, why was I still giving energy to someone who never gave it back? So I had to pull back and stop reaching out. I stopped trying to fix a friendship that was never really there. And the more space I gave myself, the more peace I felt. And it wasn't about being petty or holding a grudge. It was about protecting my energy, about realizing that I deserved better. And once I truly understood that, letting go became easy. So if you are listening to this and you have a Layla in your life, let this be your sign because you deserve better. You deserve friends who genuinely love and appreciate you. And most importantly, you deserve peace. So let me remind you, real friends don't make you question where you stand with them. They don't just hit you up when it's convenient for them and then disappear when it's not. You deserve people who actually show up for you, just like you show up for them. So if someone in your life is making you feel like you have to beg for their love, respect, or even just basic decency, let them go. Because the right people, the right ones who truly value you, will never make you feel that way. And that is it for today's episode. Thanks for tuning into Toxic till the end. Until next time, take care of yourself and protect your energy.